In this video, I'll review the AgWRAP regional application process and highlight a couple minor changes we made to the process for 2020. The practices that are eligible for funding through the regional application process include new agricultural water supply and reuse ponds, ag pond repairs and retrofits, agricultural water collection and reuse systems, conservation irrigation conversion, and micro irrigation system conversions. Just as a reminder, water supply wells are not eligible for funding through the regional applications. First, I would like to go over how the regional application process will work for new pond and pond repair projects. This is the most complicated process and was updated last year. The AgWRAP regional application process this year will be very similar to the process used last year, with only a few minor changes. These changes are primarily in how information will be submitted and what we're calling each step of the process. The regional application process for ponds and pond repairs is essentially a two-step application process. The process will start with district staff completing some initial conservation planning. District staff will then submit a regional application using FormSite. The regional application will be preliminarily ranked by division staff. The preliminary ranking will be based primarily on an inventory and evaluation of the operation and assessment of how well the pond will meet the cooperator's objectives. After the applications have been ranked, only the top ranking projects will move to the next step in the process. At this point, technical services staff, both engineers and soil scientists, will perform site evaluations to determine the suitability of the proposed pond site. The applications will receive a final ranking score based on the feasibility of the project as determined by the engineers and soil scientists. Sites that have significant constraints that will negatively impact installation and increase the cost of the project will rank lower than those sites that have few or no constraints. After final ranking, we will schedule a meeting with the cooperator for one last check to make sure they are still interested in pursuing funding and entering into a contract. We want to ensure they understand the stipulations of the contract and are aware of any site constraints that may negatively impact the project and affect costs. This will be the last step before the projects are presented to the AgWRAP Review Committee and then to the Commission for funding approval. I want to be sure the projects being presented show a high potential for being installed. I think this last meeting will help to ensure that cooperators are aware of what they're getting themselves into and hopefully reduce the number of cancellations. And then finally, as I alluded to earlier, the highest ranking projects that have cooperator verification will be presented to the AgWRAP Review Committee for feedback and to get their recommendations for funding. The recommendations from the Review Committee will then be presented to the Soil and Water Conservation Commission for funding considerations. And if all goes well, the Commission will take the committee's recommendations and fully fund the projects that were presented. This flowchart of the regional application process for ponds provides more detail regarding the steps within each stage of the process and shows the documentation that should be completed along the way. It also highlights the points in the process where only the top-ranked projects will move on to the next step. This flowchart, along with all of the necessary forms and links to the regional application, will be available on the AgWRAP Regional Application website. This year, we are going back to two batching periods for regional applications. I'll cover the timelines for pond projects first. Regional pond applications for batch number 1 are due September 13th. I know this is a bit of a quick turnaround, but most of the information we are asking for in the regional application is pretty straightforward and shouldn't take you too long to complete. The projects will be preliminarily ranked between September 13th and September 20th. The top-ranked projects will be forwarded to the Tech Services staff, and site assessments will be completed between September 23rd and October 11th. After receiving the feedback regarding site suitability, the projects will be ranked a final time from October 11th to October 18th. The final cooperator acknowledgement to proceed with the project will be due November 1st. And then the highest ranking projects will be presented to the Soil and Water Conservation Commission for funding approval on November 20th. In batching period number 2, regional applications for pond projects will be due November 22nd. The ranking and site assessments will follow a similar timeline to batch number 1. Ultimately, the highest ranking projects will be presented to the Soil and Water Conservation Commission for funding approval on March 18th, 2020. For all other practices that are eligible for funding through regional applications, the applications for batching period number 1 will be due on October 25th. Final ranking of these applications will take place from October 25th through November 1st. The highest ranking projects will be presented to the Soil and Water Conservation Commission on November 20th. The deadline for applications in batching period number 2 will be February 21st, 2020. These projects will be ranked and presented to the Soil and Water Conservation Commission on March 18th. Hopefully, the 2 batching periods will provide you more flexibility for getting quality projects submitted. All of the timelines I shared will be made available on the AgWRAP website. So that's all I've got on updates for the AgWRAP regional applications for 2020. Thank you for watching this video. I hope it was helpful. As always, if you have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to call or email me. My contact information is on the screen. Once again, thanks for watching.